These were the first criticisms that we've heard from Musk that could actually be applied to Trump, because what he actually said when he was criticizing the bill in Congress, which has been passed by the House, the Republicans in the House of Representatives, it's known as the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Oh, it never lets up, does it? We thought that Donald Trump had been a bit quiet and hadn't said something for maybe a day or two, but he was out again, wasn't he, saying we'll know for certain what President Putin's intentions are with Ukraine within the next 2 weeks.
We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently, but it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you. Nobody can. I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that.
Do you get the feeling, David, that his patience is running out finally with Vladimir Putin?
I do, Caroline. What we can't work out is whether he's prepared. He really is prepared to do something concrete about it, because Trump really likes to use the power of the bully pulpit, as it's known in America. He possessed a pretty big bullying attitude already before he came to the presidency, and he knows that his extreme rhetoric can really move mountains. Look at what it did with NATO when he threatened to leave NATO, and he got billions and billions of extra dollars and euros spent on defense by the European countries. So he knows that his rhetoric can bring results. It just doesn't seem to be working with President Putin. So he will try the rhetorical approach, I think, for he's told us for another week or two, but it's not the first time he set a deadline for resolving the Ukraine war. You probably remember he said he would resolve it in the first day in office.
We can't forget that.
Then they had really an internal deadline of Easter. They really wanted to get it done then. And the first time that Trump came out on social media with strong words about how upset he was with Putin was after Easter, when I think it was Easter Sunday or Easter Monday, the Russian missile hit a market, I think, in Ukraine, or it killed some civilians in Ukraine anyway. At the time, shortly after he'd met Zelensky, it was around the time he met Zelensky at the late Pope's funeral, and it seemed to be a bit of momentum then that he was getting angry with Putin. So we just have to wait and see if he's prepared to take concrete measures. We know they've been prepared by officials, that extra sanctions have been drawn up. We know there's a bill in Congress that's been drawn up by a Republican senator that's got lots of support. Apparently 82 of the 100 senators are prepared to to vote for this bill in the Senate. But of course, it's not being put forward because Trump would really have to give the green light for Republican senators to do that, because it would set in motion a whole chain of events.
Well, just stop for a second there, because Donald Trump was asked why he hasn't imposed more sanctions on Russia as of yet.
If I think I'm close to getting a deal, I don't want to screw it up by doing that. And let me tell you, I'm a lot tougher than the people you're talking about, but you have to know when to use that. If I think it's going to hurt a deal, this isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm only here for one thing, to see if I can end it, to save 5,000 lives a week.
Well, there we are. I mean, you know, he says it as it is, doesn't he? But he's also sort of using this phrase that we'll find out soon whether Putin's tapping us along. That's not a phrase that I'm familiar with, but he obviously feels that, it's good enough to repeat several times. How long will it take him, do you think, to work that out?
Well, again, we've got a dispute over talks next week, because he had a 2-hour phone call with Putin actually Monday last week, if you remember, and he came out of it saying that there will be immediate direct talks between Ukraine and Russia, and he had a great feeling, and it was a really positive talk with Putin. And of course, there hasn't really been substantive direct talks, and now the Russians are saying they're prepared to meet in Istanbul on Monday, whereas Trump's guy, who's called Keith Kellogg, has suggested Geneva for the next round of talks. And Trump himself, after that phone call, said he thought the Vatican was a good place for the talks. So it's all a bit of a mess. And if there's no direct talks next week, there really will be a growing clamour from Republicans in Congress, who are pretty muted, as you know. They're very reluctant to stick their necks above the parapet with Trump's power in the party to really damage them, with voters if they displease him.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see. I think the Republicans in Congress, especially the Senate, could start to get a bit more vocal next week if nothing's happening. That might momentum.
Okay, let's keep a watch on them then. Elon Musk, he's hit back at his critics, says he's tired of being Trump's whipping boy whenever the president's under fire, and he's criticised the president's tax cut bill, saying it's undone all the hard work that he, Elon Musk, did as head of DOGE. What do you make of this fight, this bit of little scrapping going on between these two men?
Well, I'm pretty sure these were the first criticisms that we've heard from Musk that could actually be applied to Trump, because what he actually said when he was criticizing the bill in Congress, which has been passed by the House, the Republicans in the House of Representatives, it's known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. And it's known as that because Trump insisted that everything he wanted to get done, which was lots of tax cuts, but also funding the military and funding his Iron Dome that is going to protect America, and just about everything he wants to get done is all loaded into this bill against the advice of many senior Republicans who said you need to split this up into at least two bills. So now it's going to cost the taxpayer $3.8 trillion, according to the independent Congressional Budget Office. That's a lot more money than has been cut by DOGE and Elon Musk. In fact, he told the cabinet the other day that he cut about 150 billion net after the costs of all the cutting. So we can see Musk now concentrating on his rocket launch, which didn't go perfectly yesterday, and really trying to suggest to the world that he's his own man again, and he's not involved so much in Republican politics, which has caused him all sorts of trouble, not least a massive decline in customers for his Tesla cars. And so people read it as really as Musk beginning to try and reinvent himself as the entrepreneur that everybody likes, rather than the Trump guy who half of America doesn't like.
But the two men were joined at the hip, weren't they, for a while there? You couldn't see Trump without Musk. Do you think this really is a serious nail in the coffin for their relationship then?
No, I think it's Musk is trying to find a way to get back into more popular affection that he had before. He's not going to regain his standing in the eyes of many Americans, of course, but he needs to do something to put distance between him and Trump. But he doesn't want to upset Trump, and he's still got a foot in that world. He hasn't completely cut his ties with DOGE and the White House, not least because that's obviously pretty useful for him, I think, in his own life as well. He's trying to have it both ways at the moment, but he is trying to suggest that he's moving on.
Okay,
we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. David, stay with us. You're listening to Carolyn Quinn on the evening edition, sitting in for Kate Borsay, and more to talk about with you, David. Now, let's move on to another subject. There's been a lot of arguments over Harvard and the way that it's fighting back against Donald Trump. But now we have this move by the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing that foreigners who undermine free speech rights will have their visas denied. Donald Trump was asked by reporters about the crackdown on foreign student applications to Harvard.
Harvard has to show us their lists. They have foreign students. About 31% of their students are foreign-based, almost 31%. We want to know where those students come. Are they troublemakers? What countries do they come? And we're not going to, if somebody is coming from a certain country and they're 100% fine, which I hope most of them are, but many of them won't be, you're going to see some very radical people. They're taking people from areas of the world that are very radicalized, and we don't want them making trouble in our country.
This is a row that shows no signs of stopping, ties into the Harvard row, of course. How serious do you think this will be, David, for Harvard, for America, and of course for those ambitious students who'd like to just study in America?
Well, I think all of this talk of visa bans and most lately that the social media accounts of prospective students could be analysed to see if they've got any skeletons in the online world. It's going to have a chilling effect. I've just had a friend who was in Las Vegas, who's quite a senior official, and he said that there'd been a double-digit drop in tourism to Las Vegas this year that's been felt already. A lot of that is Canadians who don't want to come to America anymore. They're boycotting it effectively because of what Trump's been saying about annexing Canada, making it the 51st state. So it's already having this chilling effect on tourism. And I expect that could be seen in the world of academia, where there is going to be the students with the sort of top grades that can get into Harvard, of course, have probably got their pick of global universities, and British universities might be the beneficiaries of that. You don't know, but just as other countries are now also angling for American researchers who are finding their funding's being cut, because don't forget, the Trump administration has tried to freeze actually billions in grants that were already earmarked for research at Harvard. Well, if those grants go ahead, a whole bunch of researchers are going to be looking for a new post somewhere.
David Charter, Assistant US Editor for The Times. Thank you for bringing us to that. Questions about a brain drain to Europe, perhaps.